No?
Oh, it was not cited.
It was a felony. We don't
Okay.
cite for
Okay,
felonies.
all right.
I'll tell you what I can. It's an ongoing investigation. Some details are not going to be out there. Okay? So, you have little jet ski boat, jet boat, right? Big motor, going really, really fast on the lake. He's headed northbound, and we have pontoon boat occupied by 8 going northbound, and the jet boat had 4. Jet boat runs into back of pontoon boat with enough force and at the angle to go up on top of pontoon boat. Okay? They get back in the water, people come out to help, to include preventing jet boat guy from disappearing. Long story short, he gets arrested. He appears to be under the influence of alcohol. The search warrant is applied for and granted, blood is taken, and he's booked in jail for felonies. One person seriously injured on the pontoon boat. A 3-year-old ejected from the pontoon boat. One person seriously injured in the jet boat. And that's where we stand. I'm currently waiting for the blood to come back before I go talk to the prosecutor.
Give the alcohol content?
It should, and or drugs, if there's any. But I have to wait. Currently in the state of Washington, there is only one lab allowed to do toxicology tests for us to use in crimes. One lab for the entire state. Okay? That happens to be in Tacoma, but it's only one lab. Average time to get blood back is 4 to 6 weeks.
What's the soonest he could be back on the water in a boat?
He could have been back on the water the day he made bail.
Well, when you find out, let's say he was intoxicated, then how soon could he be back on the water?
Next day. Because here's what they did also when they passed the mandatory voters education card. It's recreational, remember? People are just having a good time. We don't want to penalize people for having a good time, especially in a state that a large portion of money is made from that recreational thing. There is no connection to your driver's license or anything like that.
You can't confiscate the boat?
Nope, not under that rule.
If you don't have a motorcycle endorsement, they can confiscate your motorcycle.
Yep. Because it's a driver's license. A mandatory voter's education card is an education card. It's not a driver's license. Running a boat on the waters of the state of Washington is not a privilege. It's a right. Yes?
I guess I have to say that when your presence is on the lake, people do follow the rules a lot better than they do when they know you're not on the lake. You get people going the wrong direction. So I guess my question is what do we need to do? Do we need to go to a commissioner's meeting and complain?
Yes.
Okay, I guess that's the question.
Somebody buy a boat like his and run around the lake. Just kidding.
Honestly, right, anymore right now, I don't know. I wouldn't have, I'd have a problem, but we need help. Okay, the sheriff's office needs help. We asked for money from the state or from our county commissioners to be able to fund a boating program to include, the plan is, have at least one guy full-time, go back to a full-time boating officer, which means you're going to see people on the water a whole lot more, and be able, and also give us enough bodies that those of us that are qualified to run a boat aren't working every Saturday and Sunday like we currently are. None of the guys who were assigned to the boating unit have weekends off. None of us. You know, and there's the other thing. I work till 10 o'clock at night, swing shift. I prefer swing shift. We'll leave it at that. I get off at 10 o'clock at night, then I have to come back in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I get off 10 o'clock at night, hopefully, if So that means I get up at 8, I'd be on the water by 9, and then I have to leave the water at 1. And, oh, when's everything happening on the lake? Plus, I'm not as young as I used to be, and if I spend 8 hours on the water, and it's a hot, sunny day, I'm pretty well wiped by the time I'm come off the water. So the idea of putting on my other uniform and spending another 8 to 10 hours working patrol, I'm sorry, I'm 55 years old and I have almost 20 years in.
Jeez, you're killing us.
I'm older.
Hey,
I wouldn't want you pulling me over after that.
I'm sorry.
already.
I cannot do like I used to when I first started. I can't go that hard, and I admit it. All
We're
right?
with you.
I just can't, I can't challenge that hard. You know, and we're having trouble getting people. We're having trouble just getting regular deputies that can pass the background, pass the psychological, pass the FTO program to make it happen. And honestly, if you watch the news, why would anybody want to be a cop right now? Oh yeah, let's go put gas in our car and get ambushed. You know, let's do our job and be told that we're excessive use of force or there's failure to follow navigation rules. There's all kinds of rules. The state of Washington actually adopted the Coast Guard CFR rules for navigation. Blanket, the whole book. That's a lot of rules. Okay? Plus the ordinance that we're trying to take care of for some of our personal items.
What's the speed limit at night on the lake?
By the ordinance book, 8 miles an hour.
Just a note to some of the cruise boats that are zipping by late night with the lights on. They're pretty lights, but they're zipping
Well,
through.
see, that's the other thing. I noticed the other night when we were dealing with the 2 boats, I didn't say anything to whoever has a cruise boat with the really pretty LEDs. Yeah, that's illegal. Well, it's underway. The only lights.
Green on one side, red on the other.
Yeah, that's not what I was seeing.
See, that's interesting, so you can't display that kind of lighting.
As long as you're at anchor, not underway, light it up. I don't care. If you're underway, Coast Guard rules, federal rules, state of Washington rules say the only lights that will be visible are your red and green and white navigation lights.
What
Period.
about the blue ones underneath the water that you see?
Blue is illegal, period. The only vessels allowed to have blue lights are law enforcement, whether you're sitting or not. You're not allowed to have blue.
So that includes then the spotlights and the boats that have now like the 2 running lights that look like it's a car on the lake?
They can only run those when they're docking, because the whole purpose behind those are docking. Because honestly, if you're going 8 or 9 miles an hour, you probably don't need those big lights. A couple of years ago, we actually brought our patrol boat out here and sat in the middle of the lake with our lights off and a radar trying to catch people running with no nav lights or speeding. But your telephone tree was working really It's just like Phillips Lake. I can launch the boat, make one pass around the lake, and then I'm the only boat on the lake. Everybody has to go in for lunch or something else to do. It's amazing. And the minute my boat is out and tied on the trailer, all of a sudden everybody's back on the water. So,
We want you to get the bad guys, that's why.
yeah.
We're getting out of your way.
Well, I did want to say that when, a couple of years ago, when you guys were on the boat pretty consistently, on the lake, patrolling, things calmed down. You have, on a regular basis, there was not as many maniacs out there on the jet skis.
I won't
People
deny
were
it,
being
I
very-
agree. I agree.
People tend to want to follow the
But-
rules and the law.
2 years ago when that was happening, my schedule, we had 3 of the boating officers all had weekends off, or at least a Saturday off. Okay? I mean, we were able to come out. I had buku hours of overtime, because I was out every Saturday for the entire boating season. Every Saturday.
I got the overtime doing other things besides that.
Now I'm working patrol.
Yeah.
We appreciated that though.
Well, you know, how do I, if all 48 or 50 of you walked into the commissioner's office or the commissioner's chamber at the next commissioner's meeting to scream about failure to fund the sheriff's office / voting unit, trust me, things would probably
When
be
is
much
that?
more receptive.
When is that?
They ask how to pay for it, and the way to pay for it is tax the rest of it. Y'all wanna do
Well-
that? You wanna tax yourself to have
I-
the sheriff's vote on
We're
it?
already some of the highest tax.
No,
in the county.
no. I'm simply
I
saying,
understand that.
it costs money to run government.
It's gonna cost money.
So if you wanna tax yourselves, let's tax
But you
ourselves
might
and put a
ask
vote
them-
on the lake.
You might ask them how Public Works can afford new $100,000 dump trucks and graders.
I'm in public
Constantly.
safety, I understand completely.
Right,
But it
I'm
costs
just
money
saying,
to run government.
there is some money out there that maybe the commissioners could change the way it's getting shared, change their priorities more towards public
But
safety.
look what happened in this room when we started talking about money.
Oh, I know.
The problem went away, and now it's, oh my gosh, I don't want to spend any more money to solve the problem.
But, you know, we just need, as you well know, we need a little more backing. I'm not saying it's gonna be perfect, I'm sure there's, who knows? We pay them, we let them come up with ways to make this work, but,
So when
Change
is
their
that
priority.
next meeting?
what are they? First or third Tuesdays? I'm honestly not sure. Cause I don't go, cause I'm not real politically correct, and I probably say
But
something.
could you find out so that?
Yeah, I can find out. I go to work tomorrow, I'll find out and let Lynn know to send out.
An email.
should be on the website.
Should be on the website, I would think. But
Mason County Sheriff's have an auxiliary.
we have a reserve unit,
So how is that funded?
they're volunteers.
They are.
Yeah.
Do they have the authority to police the lake if they were given that assignment?
We just said that we don't need the police, we just need presence.
Need your vote.
We just need the vote.
My broke boat still floats, sort of. You want me to bring it out and just anchor it?
I'm sure there's lots of
Sort
people
of
in this room that follow.
The reserves are all volunteers. What we've got, I think we've got 3 now. The issue about patrolling and enforcing on the lake is they need to be trained on the boating laws.
Didn't say anything about enforcing.
He did.
Simply presence.
We can't put them on the boats unless the sheriff's office is gonna pay it out of his funds, because part of the Coast Guard grant / state parks grant says only properly trained 40-hour class people, only those that have been trained in basic marine law enforcement have access to our funds. So the sheriff can't pay for just any deputy to get on a boat and go out. Even though I'm a state certified instructor, I could teach every deputy in the agency, provided he'd give me the time, how to run a boat safely and how to enforce the law. State parks won't pay for it unless they go to the approved authorized course. which is 40 hours.
Are there any academies or pools of people that they could have an internship and work on the lake, helping enforce the rules, or have a presence that some pool of students that could intern here?
No,
That 40 hours isn't that much of a vacation.
no, but they have to be commissioned law enforcement at some level. Because what that class is for enforcement. It's for cops, commissioned people that are actually gonna write the tickets, take them to jail. Because here's part of the issue from my side. If I send out the reserves or somebody, I train them how to run the boat safely, the sheriff's gonna pay for it out of whatever, not using boating funds. They go out here and they contact a drunk boater. What are they gonna do?
Call you. And you come and pick them up. All we have to do is get it stopped.
I wish it was that simple, but it's not quite that simple.
To that end, is Water Watch on Mason Lake helping?
Yes,
How effective are they?
actually, since you guys started it, we haven't, but I can't give them tickets.
How many warnings do they get?
As many as, it's a state law called misdemeanor presence. I cannot write a ticket to anybody for a misdemeanor unless I observe the violation. Okay? And if it's an infraction, like a speeding ticket, yeah, definitely, I can't do anything about it unless I see it. So I can give them lots of warnings. I don't have to tell them that they can have lots of warnings. You know, I can allude to the fact that they could end up getting tickets, which potentially they could. But state law 1031-100 is the RCW. It's called the misdemeanor presence law. It says, I have to observe misdemeanors in order to enforce them except for the following list.
How about video camera? Is that the same as observing yourself?
No. No.
Yeah. Yeah, you wanna come over for dinner? Every night
Again, I would love to. I would really love to.
Deputy Dugan, you're aware of the issues that we have. In your opinion, what are the two probably the most important issues that we as a group could collectively go and approach the commissioners and say, okay, these are the two serious issues that we're dealing with. The $80,000 cut in our no voting program, what do you think is the two most important things?
Support the sheriff on getting his voting budget.
Okay.
Okay, because then, yeah, I'd like more deputies too, but face it, we're here for voting, so let's focus voting. So 80,000, I wouldn't bring up the 80,000, but I'd just say, hey, you need to fund the voting program. We're not happy that we haven't seen the deputies out there this year. And we understand that's because of manning and equipment. Okay, I was down to 2 boats, and then we had a little boo-boo, and I was down to 1 boat. I stole parts off of the busted 3rd boat, and now have 2 boats. Okay? But
How many lakes are you patrolling?
okay, we have 12 lakes that are part of the active patrol. There's others that we could patrol, but like, perfect example is Lake Limerick.
Yeah.
We don't patrol it, but we could legally. All right?
They say Lake Limerick doesn't have a problem because they have slow boats in the morning, slow in the afternoon, fishermen, and then they ski up to about 30 or 35,000 on your.
That's their covenants.
No jet skis.
Right, that's their covenants, okay? Again, state law says I can't enforce a covenant. So that's their thing.
I get the impression that they enforce it.
Well, yeah, they write letters or send a bill to the household that violates it. It's part of their covenants.
Part of their homeowners association.
Part of their homeowners association. Okay, by law, that lake can be patrolled by law enforcement, we could still go out there, but we don't, because there's assistant rep, I'm not sure exactly what her title is. Her and I are gonna sit down and go through the ordinance and start rewriting. Once we're done, and the attorney looks at it, then to get an ordinance passed, it has to be brought in front of the public for a public hearing. And that's when you guys will get a chance to.
Can we provide input before that for consideration?
Why I'm here.
Can we send you something? Can we as a group here?
Yeah.
Or individual send you?
Besides the no wake zone being moved out, what else in the ordinance bothers you today?
Well, it's got issues between state law and ordinance. If you read the ordinance, it says nobody's under 16 is allowed on jet skis. But state law says 14, okay? It says 14 to operate a boat, but state law says 12 for boater's education card. Okay, so there's just a few things that need to be, not the entire thing has to be rewritten, just some of the stuff we need to bring up to current state law, and some of it needs to be changed. Instead of 150 feet, 300 feet, or 250. I don't know. I know from personal experience watching, the 300 feet is a good number if you watch the waves. Okay? I don't know. That's just perfect world if we were gonna no wakes type thing, right? Those that were worried about the 6 miles an hour. Well, we dropped the 6 mile an hour off. I recognize what you're talking about. Instead, I put, you will not create a wake. Okay? Because some boats can go faster than 6 and not create a wake. Granted, some boats can't go 3 without creating a wake. So if we change the language to say, no wake, would that work better than saying 6 miles an hour?
Or no lake with a maximum of so many miles.
You know, the speed limit within the 150 feet is more than just the lake. It's
I know.
safety of the public, people backing out of their slips, swimmers, et cetera, within 150 feet. That's probably a safety issue more than a weight issue, or at least it's equally important.
So if I try to ride it, that's gonna be fun.
See, my concern is that,
Right,
you know, up and down.
and I'm trying to think, how could I ride while cruising no wake, while leaving your dock or docking or returning to your dock or shore, nothing greater than 6 within 150 feet, something like that? I mean, I'm asking for help here.
Well, if it was a hovercraft that left no wake, we would acknowledge that 20 mile an hour would be a little excessive 5 feet from a dock. So maybe the speed limit needs to be added
Somewhere in there.
for the future, because future crafts are gonna come along and they're gonna do weird things. So maybe a speed isn't the worst thing,
So,
but no wake certainly helps.
no wakes, 300 feet, 250?
There are several several rules out there that they all address different things. Some are weight, some are negligence.
There's actually a
They make different
hovercraft.
bolts. They make different bolts for each one.
Actually, there's a hovercraft regulations. So,
Is there an ordinance that defines no wake and low wake?
no.
There's not. It's no wake or wake.
How do you define a wake, an inch or a foot? I mean,
Part of the thing I need to write.
yeah, that's very
So
hard.
that's part of the question.
My wake is an inch high or?
Well, a no wake zone is period no wake. If you're in, like if you're out and
You
you're
can't have
into a
anything-
marina, it's no
If you
wake.
say no wake,
It's no,
absolutely
it's
no
flat,
wake, you can't make any waves,
right, it's flat.
except that of your boat displacement. No
Right.
more than a kayak or a canoe would make,
Right,
going through that zone.
right. That's slower than 6 miles an hour.
I think the average boater sees no wake and figures, okay, slow down. Because you can't move a boat through the water, period, without making a ripple. And
Right.
a ripple's a wake.
Yes.
So common sense tells us,
So
all right, we get
if-
it, just slow
If
down.
I wanted to define a wake, what would you people be comfortable with for a wake? 6 inches?
Well, who's gonna measure that for the citation? It's not gonna happen.
Would be down to
Yeah,
idle
but-
speed.
It's giving a guideline. I mean, for citation, his hands are still tied. I mean, there's still, regardless of what we do, it's ordinances and it's him here when he's
But right
here.
now, there's nothing,
Right, right, so,
for those of you that have called in when they're right at your 150-foot buoys with the wake, there's nothing I can do for you.
Right.
They're within the current ordinance and laws.
right.
So that's what I'm saying, I'm asking for input.
How about leaving and approaching the dock on the pier? Then introduce that as.
But now you're asking an operator boat in excess of 6 miles an hour within 150 feet of shore, which could endanger
None,
this guy's.
except a wake is caused by a mechanical device, and a wave is caused by.
Number one, you're saying support the sheriff.
Well, that's what I seem to be hearing tonight is,
Yeah.
the biggest issue seems to be the fact that you're not happy with what little enforcement or patrol you guys have seen. Okay, fine, I can't argue with that.
What would number 2 be?
Yeah.
Well, number 2 would probably be what we're on right now. Pushing boats farther away from the shore.
Or at least the damaging ground. Somehow.
Somehow.
Because only a few you have, well, many of you have shoreline erosion that you'd like to see end. Right? And
Well, here's something else that I need you guys to think about. Yes, we're more concerned right now with this group. You guys are concerned Mason Lake. All right? But this ordinance is going to be for Mason County. All right? Some of the other lakes, like Spencer and Phillips, are experiencing a lot more shore erosion than you guys are because of the size of your lake. Lake Watzel experiences a tremendous amount because of the depth of that lake. It's a very shallow lake. So it builds up some pretty good waves. You get enough boats out there, and it's quite the ride. You get enough boats out there, and it's like taking a bowl and doing a stern pick and spoon out and still watching the water go around. It gets pretty good. Okay? So, yes, I understand you guys are focused on Mason Lake. But whatever happens, this is going to be a county-wide thing. I can't write it, well, this ordinance is for Mason County. This ordinance is for Phillips.
Are you going to the other lakes and having a meeting?
Have you been to
None of them
Watzel?
want to talk to me, other than call in and complain. Yes.
Well, it's obvious, every boat makes a wake,
Yes,
period. You can't operate a boat without making a wake.
very true.
But if the words were used, small, minimal, I mean, those 2 words mean not big.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a whole lot, but I think it means small and not very big. If you use those 2 words, would that most of the people, I said most, would understand it, would you?
Yeah.
Well,
And
then I think,
we could probably try to write it along those lines. Would that be better? You must maintain a speed that would create the most minimal wake possible based on your hull design.
That means 1 mile an hour for some boats and not 6, so.
Everybody's gonna interpret it differently. Small,
Well-
maybe it'll be small, but you know.
So what would you say was the maximum you wanna see?
6 inches, 8 inches, I mean, maybe, you gotta give them a gauge so they understand what
Yeah.
you mean.
So what you want?
And they all have liquids with them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, one of my other duties is I go up to the CJTC, I go up to the police academy and teach brand new people. And when I'm teaching SFST, you know, for the field sobriety test for drunks, one of the tests is you will lift your foot 6 inches, hold it above the ground, parallel to the ground, 6 inches, point your toe, blah, blah, blah. Well, what's 6 inches? Yeah, about the height of your beer can you were drinking. And they're like, oh yeah, okay, well. And then they hold it way up here. No, not the 40 ouncer. I digress. Anyway, yes, that's fine.
I have one other question. Is it possible to have 2 zones? So the 150 no wake, 150 to 300?
It's possible, but I'm trying to think as,
Green and red buoy.
yeah, I'm trying to think as the guy out on the water, how I'm going to be able to spot from any distance
On a curved shoreline.
on a curved shoreline where that is.
I was just thinking because of the 2.
Oh, I understand.
So we better off instead of enforcement to come up with a speed versus.
No, because as the gentleman on this side of the room pointed out, some boats will create a big wake at a lower speed than others, just because of their designs. Okay?
So if we just have a speed limit, it's not gonna stop the damaging weight.
Nope.
If that's a given, then what if we added 5 mile, whatever, 6 mile an hour or less, and add the words, no damaging weight. If it does anything, the guy reading the rule goes, no damaging weight, what's that all about? And maybe it leads to more education on his part or your part, and maybe that would knock off some damaging weights.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the main thing is on that 150 is the safety of swimmers and that type of thing, because we don't have people swimming out past that. So it really would be better to have 2 portions where you have the low speed limit for the 150 because of the swimmers and that, and then the no or low weight.
Well, you can swim across the lake any time of the
Well,
day.
you can, you're still gonna do it without someone with you. I mean, you don't get to go out and swim across.
You gotta have a brain.
No, because you're somewhat protected by the 150-foot buoy. Yeah, we know that boats shouldn't be in excess of 6, and that should give you some time to react. But you're not supposed to get within 100 foot of a swimmer in excess of 6 miles an hour anywhere on the lake. So somebody could go swimming across the lake and you better avoid them.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to be the one.
No, I wouldn't.